Hello, friends. Hello. Happy Friday. Welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. I'm Lisa Hetrick. Super excited to be here with you today. It's been a big week. It was Gina K release week. Look very, very bright. I have a brand new stamp set that released this week, and we are going to make a fun card project with it today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about watercolor and stencils. So super fun. So I see people popping in. Hello, everyone. Hello. And I saw someone was brand new. Layla. First time catching you live today. That's great. Hello and welcome. Okay. All right, friends. Let's just get right to it. We are going to have some fun. I've got a really fun card project I'm going to share today. And of course, we're going to nerd out a little bit and we're going to have techniques along the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I'm also going to talk about color palettes and my favorite color palettes from the Gina K ink line that I like to use for florals. So this is kind of the inspiration for the card project that we're going to do today. And there's some discoveries when this release came out. There were some discoveries that I made in card making projects. And I just thought of something. I want to go grab it real quick out of the drawer. Let's see. We just recently did this project together. Let's find it. Here it is. Okay. Sorry about that. While I was talking, my brain was telling me that I needed to talk a little bit about the inspiration for this new stamp set with Gina K Designs called Life in Full Bloom. Okay, a couple weeks ago, hello everyone, see more people popping in. A couple weeks ago in a paint and chat, maybe a couple months, maybe it's been like 2 months ago. If you go back on my YouTube channel, it's in, it's a couple videos back, but we did a paint and chat of this zinnia, and I talked about my zinnias that I planted in my garden and they were getting ready to start to bloom, and I talked about color palettes for pink and orange color mixes, and this was the painting that we did on that tutorial. This painting was inspired by not only it inspired actually this painting and this idea. And as you know, when I'm doing illustration projects for Gina K and our stamp sets, they're due like months and months and months in advance. So I knew I wanted to do one of these projects, zinnia projects, when I started planning out my garden. So this kind of developed. And then I was like, okay, we are going to do a stamp set that is inspired from this project. So it's kind of like a little bit of a double whammy. And then the stencil has the seed packet piece on it. So I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about like inspiration and where all these ideas come from, and how like I pull ideas from watercolor projects that I'm doing into stamp sets and paper crafting projects, because I think that you're going to enjoy using them. So that's why I do it. Okay, now today we're going to do two things. We're going to talk, I'm going to share a little bit about these Gina K floral favorites. Hello, Angie. We had somebody new pop in. And we're going to make this card, and I'm going to share some of my stenciling discoveries. One of my challenges to myself this year in designing these coloring stencils that coordinate with my stamp sets for Gina K was to get better at stenciling, because I was really just not very good at it. But I've started having a lot of fun with these coordinating coloring stencils, and starting to think about creating pieces that can function on their own without the stamp set. So it's just super, super fun. Hello. Okay. More and more people popping in, so it's great to see everybody. So first, let's talk a little bit about the color palettes. So I really, really like the color palette that I had pulled together for this card project. And I wanted to kind of break down that these seem to be the colors that I gravitate towards for Gina K floral colors. So I'm going to bring them in so that we have them, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them. So passionate pink and innocent pink, always like a darker color and then a lighter color. Wild dandelion, sweet corn, tangerine twist, and sweet mango. Now this combination of 4 right here for stamping and stenciling, and then this is a combination that I'm going to use for enhancing these colors, and I'm going to show you that. Hello, Susanna. Medium spruce and light spruce. I really like these greens because they have a little bit more of a blue tone in them, a blue undertone in them. And I think they make for a really nice contrast when you're using these pinks and oranges. And then soft stone and slate are going to be colors that I'm using today in the urn. In the urn that we're going to stencil in on watercolor paper. We're gonna have some fun with this. So this stamp set has just been a lot of fun because it's so very much inspired by my garden right now. And I really should have taken a picture beforehand and popped it up on the screen for you all to see it. The zinnias and the flowers out there are just really blooming so much right now. And I haven't been cutting them back because I've just kind of let everything kind of overflow in color out there for the bees and the butterflies. Okay, so this is the color palette that I really, really enjoy using for florals when I'm doing projects. And these are the inks that I like to use out of the Gina K collection for those florals. So this is what we're going to use today. Okay. All right, let's dive in. Enough chitter chatter. Now, I had this idea that I wanted to experiment a little bit today. This is I've got some jelly bean green as my A2 card base, and then this is just another card base in white watercolor paper. The watercolor paper I'm using today is Strathmore Ready Cut Watercolor. It's what I use all the time. Now, all of the supplies aren't linked down below yet, but they will be afterwards. I just kind of didn't get them in time, so before the live. So, oh, Tressa, I will take a picture of the garden later. I know, you know what? I knew that I had some pictures on my phone, which I took the other day, which, you know, phone pictures are weird, but hey, I'll just share them. So here was some pictures that I took of the flutters, the butterflies. That's a Mexican sunflower. Here's some of the dahlias, and you can see some of the other, oh, that's my mixer. That's my mixer. Let's scroll back a little bit. This was like kind of my favorite, but let's see if I have some of the zinnias in here. I was so enchanted by this butterfly the other day that I just kind of took a few pictures and I was just following her around the garden. Here's another big corner of the garden right now. Another corner of it. And there's, yes, the echinacea, the coneflower. I don't think I have any zinnias in here. Gosh, that's kind of, you can see I was just following her around. And there's my kitty. Okay. Anyway, next week, I'll put a new picture up so that we can, of all of them in bloom. They're just absolutely beautiful. Okay. Now, I'm just going to hold this here in case you want to take a quick screenshot of some of the colors that I love to use for florals out of the Gina K collection. And I will also make sure I post this over in the Facebook group and in my community at crafterjoylab.com. So, okay, let's get going. We're going to get started first with the stencil and the Grecian urn. The urn. Now, one of the cool things about the urn is that I have this already as a line art stamp and then you have the coloring stencil for it. But what I'm going to do today, let's move this out of the way because I keep hitting it, is I'm going to use some watercolor paper with the stencil. We're going to use some Gina K inks. I've got 2 inks here. We're going to use the slate. Is that slate? Yes, slate, and this is soft stone, to build up the gray, and then we're going to hit it with a little bit of water and get that image to really kind of have that concrete look to it. And that was my idea today, to see if we can make that happen. And I'm looking, here's the card right here. So here is that concept, but with just the soft stone built up in the stencil and then die cut. Now I want to try to bring that urn a little bit more to life and give it that feeling of that concrete look. So that's why I brought in the watercolor paper. So let's dive in, and we'll die cut that out. Now here's the die set for Life in Full Bloom, the coordinating die set. Now Gina, I made a mistake on my video that came out Tuesday. Gina is selling the stamps and the dies separately now, so that you can get either or instead of the bundles. But if you get both of them together, you're still going to be able to get that bundle price that she used to have, actually a little bit cheaper, she said, cheaper bundle price. But she was making some changes, and I think they're good ones. So, okay, I'm going to lay this down. Now, I brought in this. Let's go ahead and use this. I really need to clean this up. This is my Gina K sticky mat. Let's go ahead and just lay this piece of cardstock on here, and then lay my little Grecian urn in here. And I do like using this sticky mat to kind of help hold down that stencil a little bit. Otherwise, if you don't have a sticky mat, like, you can easily tape your whole, like, I've got some tape. Where is the tape? Here it is. It's hiding. So I've got some of this. What is this? This is frog tape. This was left over from one of my daughter's classes. And I'm just going to tape this down just to kind of hold this down while I'm working on that. Okay. I could put it in my Misty and just hold the whole thing down, but a little bit less stuff on the table right now. All right, that started to move. Let's hold this down. Might need to use a little bit of pixie spray to hold it down since I don't have a lot of space. But you know what? Let's just take a little piece of tape. Let's just hold it down with some tape, since I didn't give myself a lot of room. I probably need to clean my sticky mat and kind of bring it back to life a little bit. Okay, now we're going to start. Oops, I didn't even grab the right one. So let's go ahead and grab one. Here it is, the gray one. Okay, I am obsessed with these stencil brushes that Gina has that are really tiny and small, because they feel like I have a lot of control and I really enjoy using them. So I'm going to start with the soft stone. And what I'm going to do is just build up color around the stencil. I'm just going to start from the outside. And because I'm working on watercolor paper, it's going to take a little bit to build up the color, because the watercolor paper wants to, it's used to wet mediums, but it wants to take in whatever we've got, and it wants to make it move. But we've got this dry color coming in, and I just want to build it up and build it up with the stencil. And what I like about this particular coloring stencil is the intention that I put behind it, with really like kind of thinking it through. Like, if you wanted to use the stamp set to stamp and then color the stamped image with the coloring stencil, you could. But I like that you kind of get a twofer here. You're able to do a little bit of both. just going to come in that middle. I really kind of like the way that looks. Let's see if we can come in a little tighter. There we go. I really like the way that looks. I'm going to come in just a little bit of the darker edges. I'm going to come in a little bit with this slate and just kind of come around some of these edges right on this one side and maybe a little on the bottom to get a little bit of contrast here. Right here. Kind of like that. Okay, let's take a peek. I'm going to pull away the stencil, and then to get that stone look, like I feel like it does have, kind of has that stone look to it, but I really want to take it and get a little more stony splatter to it. So I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of water, and the Gina K ink is going to move. I kind of feel like I should have put a little bit more color over there, but I didn't. That's okay. We're going to let this dry, or I'm actually going to just dry it real quick so we can see what that might look like. Let's go ahead and dry it. Oh, it's kind of wet. That's all right. Like it. Are you looking for Kitty?
Oh, he's right here.
Yeah, he was right there.
Aww.
It's my daughter. Everyone. He was right there underneath being Kitty. All right, I kind of like it. And then when we die cut it out, we'll see how it looks. But one of the really cool things about that ink is that you can see it kind of separating. I kind of like that I got those little water spots in there. I'm digging that. Let me show you an example. Like here's another example of one. You see how I got a little bit more dots going here? We might end up using this one. So this one has a little bit more of that stone look that I was going for. And this one has more of that like aqueous kind of aqua look. But now let's go back in because this is our technique for the day. The rest of the card making stuff is pretty easy going. I'm going to go back over it. Let's go over it and do it again and see if I can enhance that concrete look of the stencil. Friends, if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to pop the word question or Q in the chat. We're just pretty easy going with our tutorials. Friends, especially if you're new, the tutorials that I like to do focus heavy on like watercolor techniques or other techniques. And then we focus less on the actual, here's the steps that you take to make the card. So we just kind of have fun with it. And today's primary technique is about stencils and watercoloring or getting watercolor effects. And in this case, we're bringing up that look and feel, trying to make that urn have that concrete stone look. So I'm going to go back in because everything feels nice and watery, but I really want to bring in a little bit more of the concrete look and feel. Hello, Della, who just popped in. So let's just go ahead and go back over it and add some more stencil color. And you can always just go in and repeat our technique a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of color to this middle, just a little. It's kind of fun. This is also, you could do some color mixing. And I'm going to try it. We'll take a little bit of this darker color. Just kind of go over some of those just very, very, I'm going to come over here and add a little bit to this side too. So I really kind of wanted there to be some lights and darks, but I also want that dark to kind of be a little bit moody. Let's pull this off real quick. Ooh, before I do that, I've got a quick idea I want to do. I want to take this light spruce, just a little bit of an idea that just came online here in my brain. Let me just take a little bit of that light spruce in the middle. I'm just adding, I'm doing a little bit of color mixing and adding a little bit of that light spruce on top. Just wanted to see if it, what I'm trying to do is get that concrete look with a little bit of mossy. Make it a little bit of mossy. Okay. All right. Just going to go ahead and hit this with a little bit of water and see. Oh, it's starting to bring up that kind of look. Now, instead of drying it with the heat tool, I'm going to go ahead and set it aside and let it dry. And let those little water dots kind of do their thing. I'm not so worried about these little water dots on the outside here, but we can go ahead and just sop them up a little bit because we're going to die cut this piece out, so I'm not so worried about how it creeped, but we can just go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Let me just push this to the side a little bit. I like that little bit of green in there, and I'm just trying to get that feeling of like moss, maybe. We'll see. Okay, let's move on to, I think I am going to bring this back in. We're going to bring my little sticky mat back in. I'm looking for my tape. Where is my tape? I hid my tape for myself. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to tape this down just because I'm working on glass and my Misty's like in the drawer, so I'm not going to bring that out. Let's go ahead and start working on the florals. Now, I had a whole bunch of these florals that I had already die cut out, I think for our release day on this past Tuesday. And I knew that I definitely wanted to use them. So I was like, you know, let's just save them for a tutorial. So I'm going to use 3 flowers. Good morning, Marie. And what we're going to do is start to add and build some color up. And I'm going to intentionally be doing some color mixing between colors. So our passionate pink, a little bit of the innocent pink, and adding in some of the wild dandelion to kind of bring that pink color up. The tangerine and sweet mango, and adding a little bit of pink. So we're going to be focusing on some of these colors and mixing them, intentionally mixing them on the die cut with the stencil. So, woohoo! All right, let's start with this piece. Let's pop this little guy in the middle. I'm looking, there we go. Let's just pop her right here. And then I'm going to come in. Now with the stencil, I have a couple things that clue me in. First of all, this is, Gina's got this etched in, Life in Full Bloom, and it says Gina K Designs right on the front. And I always just kind of run my finger over it just to make sure that's the front. And then I have in this stencil and in this stamp, I know I have this little tiny piece that goes in. So that just kind of is my visual clue and tells me where to put the stencil. Now, I intentionally stamped the images first, then die cut them, and now I'm going to stencil them. Let's go in. It feels like I'm kind of far. Let's come in a little deeper. There we go. And now I'm intentionally going to stencil them on the die cut. Sometimes people just stamp all their images and then they do their stenciling and then they do their die cutting. I'm doing it the opposite way today. There's no right or wrong way. I feel like it's whatever way you want to do it and whatever way makes it fun for you. Okay. So we're going to take, this is already stamped in Passionate Pink, and I want to add, I'm going to add some sweet mango to it, and then we're going to mix a little bit of pink in the center here. So I'm doing a little bit of color mixing right on the stamped image. Now, you could stamp your image in black if you want that deep, deep contrast. I was trying to get as realistic as possible with a graphic stamp as I could. So I was stamping all of my images in a base color of either the Tangerine Twist or the Passionate Pink. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start to just add color to the outside edges. So if you have blender brushes, this technique will work just fine with your blender brushes. I'm just really obsessed with these brushes because I'm heavy-handed. And with the blender brushes, which I have them all, and I love the Gina K blender brushes, I feel like I always plunk down first, where this feels more to me like a paintbrush or a marker-like experience. And I feel like I get a little bit more control doing it. So you can see that I'm just going around the outer edges and I'm kind of leaving that middle like the white color, and I'm going to come in. Let's see, what do I want to do? Do I want to come in with yellow? I think I want to come in with yellow. You can see I've got a bunch of them already, like that I've been using. So let's come in with a little bit of wild dandelion on this. I really have been enjoying this technique. So see how I'm coming in, and I'm able to kind of come in a lot softer than I normally would with a brush, with a blender brush. I feel like I have more control. And I guess because it really does feel a lot like working with a brush for me. So let's go ahead. That just slipped a little bit. I should tape that down. Let's just kind of tape that down here. Or no, I really do need to clean off my sticky mat. I'm kind of liking doing it this way too. I'm going to come back with, let's put the lid back on here. I'm going to come back now. I did sweet mango. I'm going to come back with a little bit of the Tangerine Twist. Let me move that microphone a little bit. And just, which is a little bit darker. Remember, because so here's our color palette. Tangerine Twist, a little bit darker, sweet mango. Or did I probably started with Tangerine Twist for all I can remember. I did. All right, I'm just going around the edges a little bit. Oh, Cheryl, good point. Cheryl just shared the blender brushes tend to give a softer color effect, but I also love the short flat brush. I do too. You're right. They do give a little bit of a softer color effect, but for me, it tends to be a little bit more about my ability to control the application of color. So digging that, really loving that. And that looks like, oh, I wish I had pictures from my zinnias. Can't believe I didn't take any. So I'm loving that die cut. Loving, ooh, let me just put this down a little bit. Loving the way that looks. Love it. Okay, now we are going to go back in and add some of the stamped detail that I have built in 2 stamps that are layering stamps, especially these middle pieces and this piece and this piece. We're going to do that last, so that just kind of really jacks up the texture in the die cut. So let's go ahead and move on to this one. Let's see. Let's just clean this up. Let's see what happens when I clean this up. I really do need to clean this. If you clean this, your sticky stuff kind of comes back. So I know I need to clean it. I love these things. Love them. Yes, Cheryl, I love it. Thanks so much for sharing, Cheryl, your experience too with the blender brushes. They're right behind me. I love my blender brushes, but I've just been really obsessed with these small ones. Okay, now here's my die cut. Let's find I actually want to put the die cut down a little bit more in, here we go, in control here with the way I die cut the stamp. So, oops, let's put that down. You need to stay down, little friend. Okay. So yeah, it's been a wild week with the release. And then coming in on Friday. Friends, I've been coming in on like with our lives this summer, Wednesday and Friday, because I'm taking a class online on Thursdays at noon. And I'm really, really enjoying that class. Now, this one we're going to go in, it looks like I got a little schmutz on it. We're going to do a little bit of wild dandelion around our edges, and then we're going to do some passionate pink in our center parts. So let's go ahead and do that. And again, with my stenciling, my wild dandelion, I'm just going to come in. I kind of hit that a little bit hard, but that's okay. I like this contrast between this wild dandelion, which is my favorite Gina K yellow. It's like a lemon yellow. It is a dandelion color. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I've been taking this class on Thursdays, and it's a 6-week class. So it's usually like from 12 to 1:30 or 12 to 2. And it's been really, really good. But I didn't want to rush our time together because I normally go live at 11 or 11:30 on Thursdays. I didn't want to rush our time together, so I've been trying out a couple of different times this summer. So that's what we've been doing. All right, I'm going to come in with some innocent pink first in our center, and I think it's going to end up being too light. I'm going to end up building up something else. I'm not so worried about that schmutz that I got on there because I'm just not. We're going to cover it up. We're just going to cover it up. So, friends, drop in the chat what was on the Tuesday release. There were so many amazing projects. What was your favorite? And it doesn't have to be my stamp set, by the way. What was your favorite if you had the opportunity to watch the release? I'm coming in right here with that innocent pink, which is very, very pale. But that's okay because we're going to add that stamp detail to the center. So we're building up color slowly. And I feel like I have more control in building up color when I use these brushes. See how my color is graduating here from that innocent pink out to that wild dandelion? Loving that. Loving the way that looks. Eat. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Now, while this is here, I am going to want to come back around the edges. But while I have this here, I want to pull our focus and our attention to the center of this flower. I intentionally created this particular line art stamp so that we had opportunity to add detail to the center and add detail to the leaf, to the petals, if you wanted to, or if you wanted to add embellishments or things like that, you could. So Della just shared your favorite was the iris background. That iris background stamp, that was Argita's. Unbelievably beautiful. Here is the center point for our flower. I'm going to come in with passionate pink. I absolutely love that. Thank you, Cheryl. She said my stamp set and the iris background were your first picture. You got the kit too? Okay, so the kit was the Christmas in July kit. It is absolutely adorable. You know that the in September is when Gina usually does the full-on Christmas or holiday season release, but she released that kit and it's so cute. That mistletoe, love the mistletoe, loved that those lights. They were just super, super cute. Okay, I'm coming into the center here and I'm dropping that color Passionate pink with that center. Now see how it's drawing your eye to the center? We've got this beautiful yellow on the outside. We've got this beautiful light pink coming in our center point here. I'm gonna need to like tape this down. It's a tape kind of day, friends. Should have checked my sticky mat before we went live, but I didn't. So no worries. All right, I'm gonna go ahead in with the other piece right here, which is the other center piece. Della, you like the mistletoe also? I thought it was beautiful. So Gina's daughter Alicia creates those here. I'm going to come into the center here. Just drop that in and look at that. So we really do have quite a bit of attention to the center of that flower. Alicia creates all of the stencils between Alicia and Gina. They design the stencils for the kits and other things, all those layering stencils. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, now I want to come in. I want some more pink here, but what I want to do is I want some of these outer edges to just have a little bit more glow. So I'm trying to get that graduation of color, a little bit of glow with this darker yellow on this outer edge. And then I'm going to come back into that center, add a little bit more of this innocent pink to my center here. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not going to be heavy-handed because you know me. Cheryl, thinking the lights wrapped around the urn with the mistletoe for the plant. That is brilliant. I love that idea. Susanna said, I made 3 orders in 20 minutes and went back to bed. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm adding a little bit more pink right here to the center, and see how we're bringing some softness to that center, but we're also mixing that innocent pink with that beautiful, beautiful wild dandelion. It was a really fun release. It was fun watching all of the samples. And friends, I know I said on the video, like the latest stamp sets, a lot of the stamp sets, actually almost all of the stamp sets that I've created this year for Gina K, I've had in my, especially like the piano, the violin, the urn, always that hero image, that larger image that I have in the stamp set. My mind has been flying with all of the things that we're going to do with those stamp sets in conjunction with my holiday stamp set that's going to come out. So into our fall and our holiday season, I have so many ideas. So if those are stamps that are in your collection, fret not. We've got a lot of great ideas coming for them. All right, I'm digging the way this looks. Really liking the way this looks. Feel like it's a little bit blurry. Can someone just tell me in the chat if this is blurry to you? Sometimes my eyes see things blurry and they're not. So let me know if you feel like this is blurry, okay? Or has it been blurry? Usually you all will tell me if things are getting blurry. Now look at these colors. They look like the beautiful zinnias in my garden. Well, actually, I'm going to bring my daughter in to tell me if this is blurry. Bear, Sid, can you come here? Is this blurry?
Kind of.
Okay. She said it's blurry, so she's going to adjust it for me. Holy smokes, that's better.
I think that looks better.
It does. That looks better.
How do you not?
I have trouble. I was telling everyone I have trouble seeing
It's definitely better.
it because, yeah, I thought that was blurry. Gloria shared it looks good to me. I was asking everyone if it was blurry or not. I love it when I have my techie daughter around. She always adjusts this. We don't have the camera set up for autofocus. And the reason why is because if you go like this and you show something, the camera will go boop, boop, boop. It'll do like weird pulsy things. And so we really do have that camera focused on this point and trying to keep it at that focal point. So, oh, Marie, okay, thank you, everyone. Everyone's saying it looks clear, but when you hold it up, sometimes it gets blurry. Yes, that's what I was saying. Like, if I bring it closer to the camera, it gets blurry. If I bring it down, it doesn't, because that's our focal point. So, thanks everyone for letting me know. And it definitely came more crisp when my daughter was adjusting it. So, but I think, yeah, I need to like just kind of turn this just a smidge. Okay, the warm colors, Susanna just shared the warm colors are her favorites. Yes, they are. I really love those warm colors too. I'm going to do a little bit more. We're going to come in with passionate pink. So we're going to really jack up that luminosity even more and add that passionate pink, which is this beautiful, beautiful, like fuchsia-like pink, into the mix here. Marie, did you ever think of bringing a color to the white edging? Yes, you absolutely could. You absolutely could go all the way out to the white edging. So because I'm using the coloring stencils that goes with this, the coloring stencil, I intentionally designed it so that the color stays within the lines of the stamp set. But you just gave me a really good idea about future designs and possibly having an adjustment for the outer edge of your die cut. So the way that I deal with it now is if I don't want that white edge to come, I'll go in and fussy cut that out. Or you could just use the stencil and do the stencil coloring, and then you wouldn't do the stamp. You would just kind of die cut that piece out. You're still going to get that edge though. You've given me something to think about. Cheryl just said, question, what was the color combo on the first flower? Okay, this was our first flower. So our color combo on this was Tangerine Twist and Wild Dandelion. So I actually started first with the Sweet Mango. I think I did. Sweet Mango around the edges. Then I came into the center with the Wild Dandelion. And then I kind of went back around the edges with some of the Tangerine Twist, trying to create that graduation of those oranges from outside to inside. The Tangerine Twist into a little bit of Sweet Mango, into a little bit of Wild Dandelion. Okay, hopefully that helps. Now, this one, we're going to straight up come in with Passionate Pink. And this whole one is going to be Passionate Pink. And I'm going to try to graduate my colors in from dark to light. And then we're going to leave that center inside part more of a white. Marie just shared, when I get the set, I'm going to try daubing the edges. Yes, you could totally do that to see how they would look. Okay, I'm just going to start on my outer edge here and just kind of go around for my first layer. I'm just going to build up color. I just have a lot more confidence in my abilities. You're welcome, Cheryl. Using these brushes. I feel like I get better at it. So see how I'm coming in a little bit further as I go along, but I'm really concentrating on those outer edges being darker. And then I'm coming in further, kind of creating that graduation of color. But those outer edges are getting the darkest part of Passionate Pink. Kind of love that. Kind of love that. I'm going to resist the urge to mess with it even more and just leave it be. Okay, now I'm just going to clean that off real quick. I'm going to come in to provide the detail to this stamp. I've got this piece right here, this stamp right here in the set. See all of that detail? Here, let's pop this behind it. All of that line work detail for the petal folds, that goes with this stamp. And it's going to give us some really, really rich color. Now, you can line it up. It does have a method of like where to line it up. You got your center point just kind of covering over it. And then I just kind of eyeball it and pop it down. I could be a little more precise if I want the misty, but I'm not being like super, super precise. But look at how that die cut now has a lot more added texture and dimension. Really, really love that. Really love that. Mini blending brushes. Thank you, Gloria. I was having a brain fog moment in what they were called. All right, I'm going to come in with a little bit of this. You know what? I'm going to come in with a little bit of sweet corn just for the center. And I don't need to put the stencil back on, but I do need to get a little bit of that color. And I'm just going to just lightly go around in a circle and see what that does. Just going around in a circle. And it's just adding the lightest whisper of this wild sweet corn. I love sweet corn. So let's take a look at sweet corn. So in watercolor world, in our watercolor paints, sweet corn is going to be, is a lot like Titan Buff, which is a really creamy color. Very, very much like this, where wild dandelion is very lemon yellow-ish. I'm loving this, Just adding a little bit more. And each time I'm just kind of going out a little bit further in that circle and getting a little bit of that color. I love that. Getting a little bit of that color into the pink, into the passionate pink. All right, let's lift this up, put this over to the side. We've got our 3 flowers. And then I also have this piece stamped, which there is on the coloring stencil that I cannot seem to find at the moment. That's bizarre. Oh, here it is. On the coloring stencil, I do have a stencil piece here for this, but we're going to use this. I'm going to end up, I think, popping it up on top of here. I may or may not. We may just use it as an extra piece. Now, I'm going to come in with a piece of just regular cardstock, and we're going to do our leafery pieces. So on the stamp set, then we're going to bring it all home, take a look at how, take a look at our urn and see how that's coming along and drying. So I do have the open line leaf here, but we're going to, and I have the stencil that colors it if you want. So you could get that detail, but I'm going to go ahead and just stencil down the colors. We're going to bring in light spruce and medium spruce. And we're just going to make 4 of these in light spruce and medium spruce and just have some fun with it. Yes, Marie. Yes, these are the detail blending brushes. And yes, they're on Gina K's site. That's where I got them. I love them. I absolutely love them. Okay, I'm going to come in and just get some color here. I think this was my light spruce or my medium spruce. Medium spruce. And we're just going to do 2 mediums, 2 lights. And I'm, again, starting with that outer edge and just kind of blending in some of that color, letting that center kind of be a little more white. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Let's go ahead and do another medium. And just keep blending these out. Kind of hit that one side a little hard, but that's okay. Let's add a little bit here. I'm not even cleaning off the stencil, I'm just moving along. Now let's go ahead and let's cover this up. Cover up my medium. How are we doing on time? We're gonna run a little bit over today, friends, because of all my chattering. Let's go ahead and do the medium. And see how the medium has like that blue spruce kind of look to it? Just love the light and the medium spruce colors. Look at those colors. Love them. And we're going to end up die cutting these out, or I might fussy cut them just so that we can talk. Oh, I really boogered that one up. Really boogered that up. That's okay. We'll just make it a little darker. Marie said, you're so good at holding it down. Even when I hold them down, they go all over the place. I think it's just because I'm focusing on this one little thing. If you saw, I've been taping them down or using my mat to kind of hold it down. And again, I think that's why I have been so challenged and resistant to using stencils over the years, is because I would do all this work and then they would just like booger up and I would just lose them. So these greens never disappoint. Look at them. Now, I'm going to bring in a little bit, just a little bit of wild dandelion and just kind of touch the centers of these die cuts. Just to kind of bring in a little bit of that yellow, mixing that color and bringing in a little bit of that yellow. And that's going to help draw our attention as we use those leafy pieces when we build the flower composition. The little bit of yellow is just going to help kind of draw your eye out and draw your eye back in. Love it. Also, leaves get yellow and they get little yellow pieces in them. Just going to cut this out real quick. And let's take this out because I think we're pretty much done with that for the moment. I've got my little intercut. Let's go ahead and bring in this cute little die cutter. And let's just go ahead and die cut out those leaves. So here is the little leaf piece. Now, I like that Gina is sharing these. Now you can get the dies. They don't have the magnets on them anymore, but you could use a magnet and put all these on. But you've got this double-sided tape, which works really well. I have magnets. I just haven't transferred that die set over to the magnets yet. So, getting there. Let's just pop this in the screen. We'll cut this up. Let's just kind of bring this down like this. I like this little intercut. It's super cute. I do like the larger, I use Gina's larger die cutter because I like that magnet plate and it really does hold things down really nicely. So, see how I already boogered that up. Now, Marie, I want to share. Let's just run that through. I just think this die cutter is just so stinking cute. And I like that I can fit it in the screen. And I don't have to set up the die cut cam. So we've got that little edging around the around this piece, which is really cute. But if I didn't want that edging, I would just kind of go in and trim that out pretty easily. All right, let's just go ahead and pop this in. That moved a little bit. I've got all this tape here to hold things down. So sometimes I feel like this, taping this stuff down and all these things get to be a little bit fussy for me. So, but I do love the way these little flowers look when they're die cut. And when we design the stamps and the die cut pieces, and what's going to be a die, you know, I'm really thinking about like how close can I get to the stamp to make it look good, not to have too much of a, if you notice Gina's stamps, die cuts, we don't have a very large area of white around our dies, our stamps. They are pretty close in nature. Love it. Okay. One of the things that I wanted to share about the stamp set, and that I noticed when I was making sample ideas, is that it's chock full of florals. So just one of the super fun ways, instead of sitting down to say I'm going to make this card or that card, was just to take the flowers and stamp all the images out, stamp it a couple times. If you have extra flowers, you'll have extra flowers, but stamp it a couple times. Go ahead and do some of the stencil coloring or coloring them in with your favorite medium like watercolor, and then just die cut them later, and then just build some cards on it, because you just build some cards with all the pieces that you made, because you have so many different pieces here that you could put together into a card. And that's kind of what I did, and this is kind of what we did today. We've got all these little pieces and bits and baubles, and then we have our urn. So I'm taking a look at my urn that we did together, and this looks not the effect that I was going for. It got a little bit too washy. So what I want to do, because I want to make sure that you understand this technique so that you can do it, is we're going to do it again real quick before we build our card. But I think I'm going to ultimately build my card with this die cut element, because it has that concrete look and feel that I was looking for. This tells me that I sprayed too much water, and that's why it looks the way it does. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this piece of watercolor paper, and we're going to repeat that technique so that you have it and you understand it. You can see that I actually accomplished it. So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Sue. Coming in late, no worries. You can always watch the replay, which makes it super fun. Okay. Let's go in and do this again. We're going to come in on our watercolor paper with the soft stone, and we're going to just go ahead and apply some color in all the way around into the stencil. That soft stone is very, very light in nature. Love it. Hi, Cherie. No worries about being late. You can always catch the replay. I'm just repeating the technique that we did at the very beginning, because I did not like the results, and I want to make sure that everybody understands how to do it. And this again is using the urn on the stencil, using some watercolor paper, and we're applying our ink to the watercolor paper through the stencil. And then we're going to just give it a little bit of a water boost. We're trying to create a die cut that has this look and feel of concrete. This urn will probably work with your other flower sets. You're right. This urn, okay, in general, Gloria, this urn that I do today will probably work with all these other little pieces I've cut. But in general, this urn is in proportion to all of my flowers in my collection. So you would be able to use it with anything. And you know what? You can use this urn 100% with anything in your collection that's florals or leafery. You most definitely could use it. All right, I'm just kind of going to add a little bit of color to that middle. Got this one a little bit darker, and that's okay. Now, I'm going to keep the stencil on this time and just kind of mist. Closer that you mist, the more watercolory it is. The further out you mist, I'm just going to kind of just hit it just a smidge. Way better. So see how it's a lot further out with the water, and then I'm already getting those little dots of water that I was looking for when I created this one. It already has that feeling of that concrete look, and it's not bleeding. So leaving the stencil on, which I didn't do for this first one. Leaving the stencil on can be helpful because it's masking off the area underneath it. And also taking your water bottle and being further away. The further away you are, the less water that hits it. The closer you are, the more water that hits it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's move to the side because I think we're ready to build our card. I'm going to let that dry, but look at it. I was able to definitely replicate that look and that technique so that you can follow that technique when your set comes. And if you want to replicate it, you can do it. That concrete look. Now remember, the key here is using watercolor paper because we are hitting it with water. However, if you use your Gina K white or your favorite white cardstock, and you do this technique with water and you do it from a distance, you're going to end up getting something close to this. But the paper is going to give you those little watery dots. You're going to feel it because that kind of paper is not meant to get wet. Like you see how my paper just got wet over here. It'll take the water, but it's not going to give you that watercolory effect, but you can kind of mimic it a little bit. You can give it a try. Okay, let's start to build our card. I'm going to bring in my, this is Jelly Bean Green, and the reason why I chose Jelly Bean Green is because I had already had it cut, and that's what we were going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and put my base down. Let's go ahead and put this down. Yep, we're running a little bit over today, friends. I can't wait to see what everybody creates with this set. Got a little bit of Gina K glue in this bottle. I need to just give it a better squeeze here. Could you lightly tap, tap, tap on it instead of spraying? Yes, Marie, you could. You could, you mean like take a paintbrush and lightly tap on it? You could absolutely do that. You could absolutely do that. Okay, I'm just going to add this base. Got a little bit of glue here. And then just, there we go. Yes, using a wet brush. Absolutely. You totally could do that. I've got my base here. Now, I could add color to the background, but I want to use these. I'm obsessed with these little pastel dots. We're going to use those. So I'm not going to add little drippies to the back. So we're going to start with putting down our urn. And I've got some foam squares. It's Leela or Layla, so I apologize if I've butchered your name. She says, when I saw the urn on release night, I thought it would be a beautiful bird bath. Yes! It actually started as a bird bath when I was illustrating it, and then it became an urn because I really wanted to do a bird bath, but then I was like, if I do a bird bath, I really need to do a bird. And there's already so many beautiful birds in the Gina K collection that I didn't want to create like a repeat image. So I was like, let me just make it an urn. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it, leaving a little bit of room at the bottom here. Just eyeballing and putting that there. So remember, the urn has, let me just move that over a little bit. The urn, today, we use the urn with the, is that crooked? Or is it me in my brain? There we go. We used the urn today with the stencil as a standalone piece, but you also have it in the line art version, and you could use the stencil to color it in. So we'll do another card like that. Bye, Cheryl. So many great ideas and techniques. Thank you. Yeah, we ran a little bit over today because I got a little bit nerdy with this technique. So it was a little bit less cut and dry. Now I'm going to come in. We're going to start with our big floral. Then I'm just going to start to build around it. And then pull it all together. So let's just go ahead and add a little foam dot to all of the backings of these. Super cute. Oh my goodness. I'm challenged with getting a little bit of paper off. There we go. Friends, it's hard to believe that August is next week. Summer has flown by. And in most parts of the U.S., we have just been under a massive heat wave. It's starting to cool off a little bit more. Somebody had posted, I didn't scroll back, but from Colorado that it was a cool day today. I'll scroll back. Let me scroll back real quick. Oh, I didn't see it. There's been too many comments. That it's a cool day in Colorado. That's great. It's cooling off a little bit, but you know, we've come to that time in summer here in Maryland at night when you hear the cicadas, and that's how you always know that summer is like in full throttle. I can put this on the top, but I want to see a little bit of this, so I'm going to kind of just fudge around with this and nest it behind. I want to see a little bit of that top of that urn. If I put it down here, you would see the urn, and that would be fine. But I really want to see just a little bit of that detail peeping out. Love it. Love that little layer. All right, now I'm going to take my leaf ring. We're just going to put a little bit of glue and pop the leaf ring in. Okay, friends, pop my leaf ring in. And I'm just going to alternate. And then I want you to take a peek at the leafery and how that little tiny bit of yellow that's peeping out, how it draws your eye back to the floral. Love it. Love it. This is a fun card. We've got a lot of warm colors in this card, and with the leaves being in those medium spruce, I'm nerding out right now, I can feel it. With those leaves and the leafery being in the medium spruce, it brings a little bit of coolness to the card that kind of helps with the coolness that we've got going on in the urn here. Love it. Love it. Okay, now here's this piece. So I feel like we've got some really good texture and dimension here, texture and dimension here. This feels a little bit flat. I'm just going to pop that right there. Just pop that right on top. And it is a little pop of white, but that's okay. Just a little pop. It kind of just brings a little bit more texture and dimension to the piece. I've got hope today is a good day. We're going to run this across here. This is the sentiment from the stamp set. I hope today is a good day. Just going to put a couple little dots of glue. Boop, 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 boop. Right across here. And then we're going to drop the pastel dots on, and then we'll be done. Boy, we ran over today. I kind of like that. I kind of like holding that down a little bit, letting the glue. I actually will probably go back and add a little bit of foam tape. Okay, I've got my, I forgot a tool, a much needed tool. Let's bring that in, a little pokey tool. You need the pokey tool. Okay, now we're just going to bring this all home. We're going to add a little bit of whimsy to it with these little pastel dots. Just adding some glue in a couple spots. And we're just going to add those pastel dots in. Oops, wrong side. Let's see, I've got a little pink one, little green, little blue. What else we got? Let's take a little yellow, another little green. Let's put a pink. Let's put a pink one up here. I think that those pastel dots just kind of add a little bit more whimsy to it. When Gina came out with these last month, I was just obsessed with them. I absolutely love them. Okay, I'm really digging this, and I don't mind the jelly bean green as the card base. I think it just kind of adds a little bit more, brightness to it. So super fun. Okay, friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you got a lot out of this tutorial. We did go over by like 15 minutes today, but it happens. It wasn't even a super duper watercolor technique. We did nerd out a little bit about color and also using our stencil to create a watercolor-esque die cut, that concrete like urn, which makes it kind of super, super fun. So I hope you got a lot out of today's tutorial. I'm sending you into the weekend to craft your joy. I will be back next week, but the time is to be determined. So if you're on my email list, you'll get that in your email box. I will share it in social media, and I will also share it in my community at craftyourjoylab.com. If you're at all interested in my free community, take a look at the information down below in the description. It's at craftyourjoylab.com. It's a private community that I built outside of social media, where it's clutter-free, ad-free, and I'm hosting and housing a lot of information there that I don't share anywhere else. So, okay, friends, just taking a quick peek at everybody. Okay. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next week, and have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye now.